Have you ever noticed how some people are drawn to your light, but seem to resent you for it the moment they get close? It's not your imagination. This is the quiet war empaths face every day. You radiate warmth, kindness, and a deep understanding of others, and yet some people don't celebrate it. They resent it. Why? Because your presence reflects back to them everything they're trying to avoid in themselves. Your light exposes their shadows. Your emotional intelligence reveals their emotional immaturity. This video is not just another pep talk, it's a revelation. We're going deep into the psychology, the energy dynamics, and the painful truths behind why empaths constantly attract people who secretly envy, resent, or even try to dim their light. If you're tired of being misunderstood, manipulated, or emotionally drained by those who once claimed to love or need you, then you need to hear this. This is for every soul who's ever felt punished for being genuine. For everyone who's ever asked, why does my kindness attract chaos? Stay with me, because once you understand this truth, you'll never let the wrong people feed off your light again. The power of presence. Before a man even speaks, he sends a message, and that message is his presence. Presence is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's not about showing off or flexing what you have. Presence is the silent, steady energy that enters a room before you do. It's how your posture, your eye contact, your energy, and your self-awareness announce themselves without a word. Understand this. True presence cannot be faked. It's built, it's earned, it's the result of inner work. It comes from a man who is deeply connected to himself, who has spent time in the quiet corners of his own mind, who doesn't need validation because he has already validated himself. You see, women are intuitive. They can feel when a man's presence is strong and secure, and they can feel when it's performative or empty. A man with real presence doesn't need to dominate the conversation to be noticed. He doesn't need to boast or seek approval. He just is, and that being is powerful. This kind of man stands tall not because he's trying to impress, but because he knows who he is. His shoulders carry the weight of responsibility, not ego. His silence is not awkward. It's comfortable, even commanding. He makes people lean in, not step back. Women are drawn to this type of man because his energy feels safe, feels focused, and feels certain. In a world where people are constantly distracted, a man who is grounded in the now, who is fully present with her, not thinking about his phone, not drifting off into other thoughts, is rare. And rare is attractive. Let me tell you this, presence is your superpower. It's more powerful than pickup lines, more magnetic than wealth, and more memorable than looks. Why? Because presence is a reflection of how well you've mastered yourself. When a woman feels that a man is present, really present, he makes her feel like the only woman in the room. Not because he's saying the right things, but because he's giving her the gift of his full attention. That's intimacy, that's rare, that's unforgettable. You don't have to be perfect to have presence. You just have to be real, grounded, secure. When you stop trying to be impressive and instead focus on being authentic, your energy naturally becomes powerful. So if you want to draw her attention, don't just work on how you look. Work on how you enter, your walk, your stillness, your attention, your eye contact, your ability to stay calm in a world that's always in chaos. That's what makes a woman go crazy, in the best way, not noise, not ego, not flash, presence, because presence is power. Confidence without arrogance. Let's get one thing straight. Confidence is not arrogance, and the difference is everything. A confident man doesn't walk into a room thinking he's better than everyone else. He walks in knowing that he doesn't have to compare himself to anyone at all. That's the real flex. That's the kind of inner peace and strength that turns heads without trying. And trust me, women can feel the difference. You see, arrogance is loud. It brags. It dominates. It needs validation because it's rooted in insecurity. But confidence? Confidence is calm. It doesn't need the spotlight because it is the spotlight. It speaks clearly, walks boldly, and doesn't shrink or shout. It just stands. Confidence means you know your worth without having to remind everyone. It's built on competence, self-awareness, and experience. It doesn't come from faking it, but from facing it. Your fears, your failures, your flaws. The man who's done the inner work to accept himself fully, flaws and all, walks differently, talks differently, loves differently. And yes, women notice. What makes a woman go crazy is not the man trying to impress her. but the man who's already impressed with his own progress. The man who doesn't chase, but chooses. The man who knows what he brings to the table, so he's not afraid to eat alone. That man doesn't ask for attention, he attracts it. Confidence without arrogance is the ability to say, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. It's the strength to lead while listening. It's the humility to admit mistakes without losing dignity. That blend of humility and certainty, that's magnetic, because it makes you human, not hollow. Here's the truth. Women don't want perfect. They want present. They want real. They want secure. When a man walks in his confidence, he doesn't feel the need to prove himself. He's not threatened by strong women. He's not insecure around successful people. He celebrates others without feeling smaller. That's strength. And confidence shows up in the little things too. In how you look her in the eyes. In how you stand when you're uncertain. In how you treat people who have nothing to offer you. It's in how you handle rejection, without bitterness or blame. Because when you're truly confident, you understand this. Nothing and no one can take away who you are. So if you want to stand out, don't chase perfection, chase peace, chase growth, chase alignment with your values. That kind of confidence, that's what makes a woman go crazy. Not because you're trying to impress her, but because you've already impressed yourself. And that's the kind of man the world remembers. Deep emotional intelligence. Let's get to the truth that most men overlook. Emotional intelligence is one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess. It's not about being soft. It's not about being weak. It's about being aware of yourself, your emotions, and the emotions of others. And when a man operates from that level of awareness, women notice. They don't just notice, they feel it. Most men are taught to suppress, to hide, to man up by shutting down. But here's the thing. Emotional repression doesn't make you stronger. It makes you harder to connect with. And deep down, every woman craves connection. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage not just your own feelings, but hers too. It's the power to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. It's choosing to respond instead of react. That kind of awareness changes everything. When a woman is going through something emotional, she doesn't always want you to fix it. She doesn't need you to come up with a solution right away. She needs you to be present, to hold space, and to simply say, I hear you, I'm here. Those words, spoken from a man with real emotional depth, mean more than any gift or grand gesture. You become unforgettable not by doing more, but by feeling more, and showing her you're safe to feel with. A man with emotional intelligence doesn't run from difficult conversations. He faces them with calm, with clarity, and with compassion. He doesn't gaslight or invalidate. He listens, he asks questions. He learns her emotional language and speaks it fluently, not perfectly, but intentionally. And here's the most powerful part. A man who understands his emotions, who doesn't let anger control him, who doesn't let ego lead him, who can admit when he's hurt or scared, he builds trust effortlessly. Because vulnerability, when paired with strength, is magnet. It tells her, you can be real with me because I'm real with me. Emotional intelligence also means knowing how to manage your inner world. You don't spiral when things go wrong. You don't crumble under pressure. You remain grounded, even when life gets messy. And that steady emotional presence, that's what makes a woman lean in. Because at the end of the day, a woman doesn't just want a man who looks good on the outside. She wants a man who feels good to be around, who sees her, who hears her, who understands her. So if you want to stand out, work on your awareness. Develop the courage to feel. Master the art of emotional intelligence. Because women don't go crazy over surface-level charm. They go crazy over a man who knows how to touch their soul. And that starts with a man who's in touch with his own authentic vulnerability. There's a strength that most men are never taught. A strength that doesn't come from lifting heavy, staying silent, or pretending to have it all together. It's the strength of authentic vulnerability. And it's one of the most powerful forces a man can ever embrace. Let's get this clear. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's not whining. It's not being overly emotional every second of the day. It's the courage to be real, to take off the armor, to say, this is who I am, flaws, scars, fears, and all. And when a man shows up like that, raw, honest, unfiltered, something incredible happens. Women go crazy over that kind of man. Why? Because in a world where everyone's pretending to be perfect, a man who is honest about his imperfections is rare, and rare is magnetic. A man who can say, "I've been hurt before, but I've healed. I'm scared, but I'm still going to try. I don't know the answer, but I'm willing to grow." That's a man who carries depth. Most men are walking around emotionally armored, guarded, shut down. They confuse stoicism with emotional numbness. But women can feel the wall. They can feel when you're hiding, when you're avoiding, when you're too afraid to be seen. But the moment you drop the act, the moment you stop trying to be impressive and start being honest, you shift everything. Vulnerability builds connection. It creates safety. It says, "You don't have to be perfect around me because I'm not perfect either." And that opens the door for intimacy, the kind of intimacy that isn't just physical, but emotional, mental, and spiritual. Think about it. What woman doesn't want a man she can cry with, laugh with, dream with, and build with? A man who isn't afraid to say, "I'm struggling today," or "That hurt my feelings," or "I need some time to process this." That kind of transparency doesn't push her away. It pulls her in. Because vulnerability is not about weakness. It's about courage. The courage to show up when you're scared. The courage to open your heart even after it's been broken. The courage to trust, even when the past tells you not to. A man who can be vulnerable is a man who's done the inner work. He doesn't hide behind his money, his muscles, or his mask. He knows that being real is more powerful than being perfect. So if you want to connect, drop the act. Stop performing. Start expressing. You don't need to be flawless to be loved. You just need to be you. Authentic, honest, vulnerable, strong. And that version of you, that's the man who turns heads, touches hearts, and stays unforgettable. Clarity of purpose. There's something undeniably powerful about a man who knows where he's going. A man who wakes up with fire in his soul. A man who doesn't wander through life hoping something happens, but creates his own path with clarity and conviction. That, right there, is one of the most attractive things to a woman. Clarity of purpose. When a man walks with direction, with passion, with intentionality, he commands respect. He doesn't chase approval because he's chasing his mission. He doesn't lose himself in relationships because he's anchored to something deeper. That kind of energy is rare, and women can't help but feel drawn to it. Why? Because purpose is power, and purpose gives a man gravity. He becomes centered, focused, and grounded in something larger than himself. Too many men go through life aimlessly. They bounce from job to job, from woman to woman, from dream to dream, never fully committing to anything because they're waiting for clarity to magically appear. But clarity doesn't come from sitting still. It comes from movement, from taking action, from trying, failing, learning, and refining. A woman doesn't need you to be rich. She doesn't need you to have it all figured out. But she wants to see that you are becoming, that you're building something, that you have a vision for your life, and that you're willing to protect it, work for it, and live it every single day. When you have a purpose, you stop being needy. You stop making her your entire world. Because your world is already filled with passion, with work, with vision, with drive. And that space gives her freedom. Freedom to respect you, freedom to admire you, freedom to trust that you won't lose yourself in the relationship. Purpose also gives your energy direction. Instead of being reactive, you become proactive. Instead of falling into distractions, you focus and woo. Men can feel that. They feel the difference between a man who lives by default and a man who lives by design. The man with purpose is not easily shaken. He doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't depend on external validation to feel like a man. His mission makes him magnetic. So if you want to attract the right woman, don't just focus on getting her attention. Focus on becoming the man who's too focused on his purpose to beg for it. When you're building something meaningful, you stop chasing, because your life starts pulling. Women go crazy for a man with direction, a man who knows what he wants and refuses to settle for anything less than excellence, not in his life, not in his love, not in himself. So ask yourself, What are you building? What are you fighting for? What legacy are you committed to leaving behind? Because when your life has meaning, so does your presence. And that kind of man, that's the man she won't forget. Leadership through integrity. You want to know what truly separates an average man from a man who commands admiration, especially from women? Integrity. Because leadership isn't about having power. It's about having character. It's not about controlling others. It's about being in control of yourself. And women go absolutely crazy for a man who leads, not with ego, but with honor. You see, leadership is not about shouting louder. It's not about barking orders or playing alpha. That's performative masculinity, and it's weak. True leadership is quiet. It's steady. It's built on action, not intention. And at the foundation of it all is integrity, doing what you said you would do, even when it's no longer convenient. When a man leads with integrity, people feel safe around him. And for a woman, that emotional safety is everything, because she knows she can trust what he says. She knows he's not going to fold when life gets hard. She knows he won't promise the world and deliver excuses. Women notice everything. She might not say it, but she sees how you treat the waitress. She sees if you keep your word to your friends. She watches how you speak about others when they're not around, because that's the real test of a man's integrity, how he acts when no one's watching. And when a woman sees that you're consistent, that your words and your actions align, that your values aren't just posted online, but lived out in real life, her respect deepens. And from that respect, desire grows. Integrity isn't just about being honest with others, it's about being honest with yourself. Are you living according to your standards, or just saying what sounds good? Do you follow through on your commitments, to yourself, to your goals, to your word? Because a man who can't lead himself can't lead anyone else. And let me tell you this, leadership doesn't always look like dominance. So, sometimes leadership is listening before speaking. Sometimes it's apologizing first. Sometimes it's setting boundaries when it would be easier to let things slide. Sometimes it's choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. A man who leads with integrity doesn't manipulate. He doesn't play games. He doesn't ghost, breadcrumb, or gaslight. He's clear. He's intentional. He's grounded. And that is what makes a woman feel secure in his presence. You don't need to be rich to be a leader. You don't need to have all the answers. But you do need to live with alignment between your values and your actions. That's where trust is born. And when a woman can trust you, really trust you, her attraction to you deepens in ways that go far beyond the physical. So remember this. A man of integrity will always be more powerful than a man of status. Because while looks fade and trends change, character never goes out of style. Be that kind of leader. Lead yourself first, so she can follow your energy, not your ego. The ability to listen fully. Listening. Real, focused, full-bodied listening is one of the most overlooked but deeply powerful traits a man can master. And believe this, women go crazy for a man who knows how to listen, not just with his ears, but with his heart. Most men hear words, but a man of depth hears emotions. He hears what she's not saying. He hears the tone, the energy behind the words, the pauses, the shift in her voice, and he stays present through all of it. In a world full of noise, listening is rare. People are so busy trying to be heard, trying to be right, trying to impress, that they forget connection starts with understanding. And understanding requires stillness. It requires putting your ego aside and choosing to be there, fully, completely, intentionally. A woman knows when you're listening to fix her. She knows when you're listening just to get to your turn to talk. And she definitely knows when you're not really listening at all. But when she feels your full presence, when you look her in the eyes, when you're not fidgeting, checking your phone, or mentally planning your response, something magical happens. She relaxes, she opens, she feels safe. And when a woman feels emotionally safe, she begins to reveal the most sacred parts of her soul. Listening is not passive, it's an active skill. It says, you matter. It says, I see you. It says, I value your mind, your heart, your voice. And that, my friend, is intimacy at its highest level. You don't need to solve every problem. Sometimes, all she wants is for you to feel with her. To say, that sounds tough, or I can't imagine how that felt, but I'm here. Empathy over solutions. Presence over problem solving. And here's the secret. When a woman feels emotionally heard, she becomes physically open, not just sexually, but spiritually, energetically, emotionally. She feels connected to you because you've shown her that you can handle the truth of who she is. Real listening builds trust, it builds chemistry, it builds the kind of bond that looks effortless from the outside, but is powerful beneath the surface. And don't just listen during the deep talks. Listen when she's talking about her dreams, her fears, her day, her silly stories and quiet doubts. Listen when she's excited, and listen when she's silent, because sometimes the most important things are said without words. A man who knows how to hold space without interrupting, correcting, or redirecting is a man women remember. Because in that space, she finds freedom. In that space, she finds safety. And in that space, she finds you, the man she can trust with her truth. So if you want to stand out in a world of talkers, be the man who listens. He knows how to create emotional safety. Emotional safety isn't just a bonus, it's the foundation of any healthy relationship. When a man knows how to create emotional safety for a woman, something powerful happens. She feels seen, she feels heard, she feels like she can finally put down the emotional armor she's been wearing for years and just be herself. That kind of safety, that's rare. And when a woman experiences it, she doesn't forget it, ever. So, what does emotional safety really mean? It means that a man can be trusted not just with her body, but with her truth. It means she knows she can open up about her fears, her dreams, her insecurities, and he won't judge her, fix her, or use that vulnerability against her. He'll hold space for her. He'll protect what she shares, and most importantly, he'll respond with empathy, not ego. Men who create emotional safety don't mock emotions. They don't see tears as weakness. They don't run when the conversation gets deep or uncomfortable. Instead, they lean in. They get curious. They ask, how can I support you right now, instead of offering empty solutions? They realize that presence is more powerful than advice. And here's the deeper truth. Emotional safety doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean you never mess up. It means that when you do, you take responsibility. You apologize. You listen. You learn. That kind of maturity speaks volumes. Because emotional safety isn't about avoiding conflict, it's about navigating it with care and integrity. Women go crazy, in the best way, when they find a man who is emotionally intelligent. Because for so long, they've been told to be less emotional, to calm down, or to stop overthinking. But a man who makes her feel safe emotionally validates her experiences instead of dismissing them. He builds a space where both of them can grow together. And when that space exists, a woman will show up for you in ways you've never imagined. She'll invest, she'll love deeply, she'll trust you with her most sacred parts. Because finally she feels like she doesn't have to be in survival mode. She doesn't have to walk on eggshells. She can breathe. If you want to unlock a woman's heart, be the man who creates emotional safety. Be consistent, be present, be aware of her emotional cues. Listen without interrupting. Respect her emotional rhythm. This isn't about being soft. It's about being strong enough to carry the weight of her truth without crumbling or withdrawing. Women don't go crazy for charm. They go crazy for safety. Because when a woman feels safe, she opens up her world. And the man who gets that version of her, the unfiltered, radiant, deeply connected version, is the one who becomes unforgettable. Let that sink in. Emotional safety isn't a luxury. It's the gateway to everything real. He makes her feel safe without saying a word. There's a unique kind of power in a man who makes a woman feel safe. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. This kind of safety doesn't come from grand speeches or over-the-top gestures. It comes from presence, from consistency, from the quiet strength of a man who knows who he is and stands firm in that truth. Women go crazy for this level of security because it's so rare in today's world. In a culture of unpredictability and emotional immaturity, a man who can make a woman feel protected simply by being himself, that's magnetic. He doesn't have to puff out his chest, boast about his masculinity, or try to dominate the room. No, he leads with calm confidence. He doesn't flinch when storms come. He listens when she speaks. He holds space when she needs it and steps up when she doesn't even ask. That's the kind of protection that truly captivates the heart of a woman. This man doesn't mock her emotions. He doesn't dismiss her fears. He doesn't get defensive when she opens up. Instead, he becomes a fortress, not by force, but by choice. His steady energy tells her, "You're safe here. You can be real. You can let your guard down. I've got you." Understand this. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she opens up. Her love flows freely. Her femininity blossoms. She begins to trust, to lean in, to dream with you. But when she feels like she has to walk on eggshells, protect her heart at all times, or compete with your ego, she withdraws, she detaches, she loses trust. That's why emotional safety is everything. And this safety is not built overnight. It's built in how you handle conflict. Do you lash out or do you stay grounded? It's in how you deal with stress. Do you become distant or do you remain present? It's in the little things, checking in, being consistent, remembering the details, showing that she matters even when no one else is watching. When a man can regulate his own emotions, he becomes a safe space for a woman's emotions. That's what makes him irresistible, because he's not trying to control her. He's simply creating an environment where she can be fully herself. And that kind of man, he doesn't chase attention, he earns devotion. Women go crazy for the man who gives them peace in a world full of chaos. And the secret is simple. Be the kind of man who doesn't have to say, "I've got you," for her to believe it. Let your actions speak that message louder than words ever could. The power of emotional control, staying grounded in chaos. There's something undeniably magnetic about a man who can stay calm when everything around him is falling apart. Emotional control isn't just a sign of maturity, it's a display of true inner strength. Women notice this. They watch how you react to pressure, how you handle conflict, and how you respond when things don't go your way. And when a man doesn't let the chaos of life shake his foundation, it sends a loud message. This man is solid. He's reliable. He's safe. Let's break this down. Life is full of unpredictable moments. Stress at work, arguments, financial strain, disappointments. It's easy to explode in anger or shut down in silence. But when a man is emotionally grounded, he chooses response over reaction. He breathes instead of yelling. He listens instead of interrupting. He reflects instead of retaliating. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. And women, they go crazy for that level of self-mastery. Why? Because emotional control makes a woman feel emotionally safe. And emotional safety is one of the deepest needs in any relationship. A woman wants to know that she can be herself, fully, vulnerably, authentically, without fear of judgment, attack, or shutdown. When a man is in control of his emotions, he creates a space where a woman feels free to open up and be real. Now, don't mistake emotional control for emotional suppression. We're not talking about bottling things up and pretending everything's fine. No, emotional control is about processing your emotions with strength. It's about knowing how to regulate them so they don't control you. A man who knows how to express anger without becoming destructive, who can communicate sadness without crumbling, and who can acknowledge fear without becoming paralyzed, that man is rare and incredibly attractive. Think about it. When a man gets defensive every time he's criticized, it makes a woman feel like she's walking on eggshells. But when a man can hear hard truths and respond with calm curiosity instead of ego-driven denial, that's a game changer. It shows maturity. It shows depth. It shows that he's in control not just of the moment, but of himself. And here's the real kicker. Emotional control makes you more powerful in every area of life. In your work, your leadership, your purpose, it's a superpower. People trust you more. Opportunities come to you more. And in relationships, women feel magnetically drawn to that kind of stability. So men, hear this clearly. Learn to master your emotions. Don't be ruled by your temper or your moods. Practice mindfulness. Learn to pause before reacting, reflect before speaking. Heal your wounds so you don't bleed on people who didn't cut you. When you become a man who remains calm in the storm, women can't help but be intrigued. That stillness, that strength, it doesn't just attract, it captivates. When he respects her time and energy, respect isn't just about how you speak to someone, it's about how you treat their time, their effort, and their emotional energy. And let's be real, women notice everything. When a man shows that he respects a woman's time and energy, it immediately sets him apart. Why? because it shows maturity, empathy, and deep awareness. It proves he understands that her world doesn't revolve around him, and that her life is just as full and valuable as his. A man who respects her time doesn't make her wait around. He communicates. He keeps his word. If he says he'll call, he calls. If he says he'll be there at 7, he's not showing up at 7:30 with a weak excuse. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. When you honor a woman's schedule, you're telling her that her priorities matter, that she's not just an option, but a priority. But it doesn't stop there. Energy matters just as much as time. Women give a lot emotionally, especially to people they care about. So when a man is thoughtful enough to avoid draining her emotionally, it makes a massive difference. He's not creating unnecessary drama. He's not playing hot and cold. He's not making her guess how he feels or exhausting her with games. He's stable, emotionally grounded, and mindful of how his behavior affects her mental peace. That kind of man, he becomes a safe place for her. Think about it. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she opens up in ways that deepen the connection. She becomes softer, more affectionate, more giving. But that kind of vulnerability only comes when she knows the man she's dealing with respects her energy and won't waste it. She's not going to pour her heart into someone who's inconsistent, careless, or reckless with her emotions. Respecting her energy also means understanding when she needs space, when she's overwhelmed, or when she's pouring into too many areas of her life and simply needs rest. A man who can recognize that and offer support, not pressure, is the one who truly stands out. He might say, "Take the evening for yourself, I've got things covered," or "I can tell you've had a long day, want to talk about it, or just relax together." These simple moments show profound respect and awareness. Here's the truth. Women crave peace more than attention. And when a man becomes a source of peace instead of pressure, when he respects her time and guards her emotional energy, he becomes irresistible. Not because he's trying to impress her, but because he's living in his purpose, and his presence adds value to her life rather than subtracts from it. So to every man listening, understand this. When you respect a woman's time and energy, you're not just winning her over, you're honoring her soul. And believe me, she'll never forget the man who gave her peace in a world full of chaos. Be emotionally present, not just physically available. In a world where distractions are everywhere, phones, work, stress, endless notifications, being physically present isn't enough. A man can be sitting right next to a woman and still feel miles away if he's not emotionally engaged. And here's the truth. Women don't just crave time, they crave meaningful connection. They go crazy, not for the man who simply shows up, but for the man who shows up fully. That means mind, body, and soul. To be emotionally present is to listen with your eyes, not just your ears. It's about leaning in, putting down the phone, and making her feel like, in that moment, she is the only thing that matters. When a man makes a woman feel heard, seen, and safe, he steps into a level of emotional leadership that very few reach. It's no longer just about dates or gifts. It's about creating an emotional sanctuary she can retreat to. Think about it. How often do we go through conversations passively, nodding, smiling, but thinking about something else entirely? Women pick up on that. They feel it, and it breeds disconnection, even if you're physically right beside her. But when you are fully locked in, when you're attentive to her tone, her body language, her pauses, she feels respected. And where there is deep respect, there is deep desire. Being emotionally present doesn't mean you need to be soft or overly sentimental. It means having the courage to feel, to connect from a place of truth rather than ego. It's about being vulnerable enough to say, "I hear you," without rushing to fix it. Sometimes, a woman doesn't want solutions. She wants solidarity. She wants to know that the man in front of her isn't afraid to sit with her emotions, whether they're messy, beautiful, confusing, or complex. You want to make her fall harder for you? Ask her how she really feels, and don't interrupt. Let her speak freely. Keep it a safe space where there's no judgment, no pressure, and in return, offer your truth too. When a man opens up, it invites her in. It makes her feel trusted, valued, and emotionally bonded. Emotional presence also means being consistent, not just during the highs, but through the lows. When things get tough, when stress takes over, when life gets chaotic, being the man who remains grounded, calm, and attentive sets you apart. That kind of emotional steadiness is rare, and women are drawn to it like gravity. So remember, being present isn't just about being there, it's about being all there. The way you look at her when she talks, the patience you show when she's emotional, the warmth you carry in your energy, all of it creates a feeling she'll never forget. Be the man who doesn't just share space with her. Be the man who holds space for her. That's what leaves an imprint on her heart. Confidence without arrogance. The subtle magnetism. Let's talk about one of the most attractive traits a man can possess. Confidence without arrogance. There's a fine line between the two. And when a man walks that line with grace, he becomes magnetic. Women don't go crazy over a man because he's cocky or boastful. They're drawn to the man who knows his worth but doesn't need to shout it from the rooftops. Confidence is quiet. It's the way a man enters a room without needing to announce himself. It's in his calm demeanor, the way he listens without interrupting, and the way he holds eye contact, not aggressively, but with presence. When a man knows who he is, what he stands for, and what he brings to the table, he doesn't seek external validation. That kind of security is rare. And when a woman senses it, she notices. It's not about having flashy things or dominating conversations. It's about a man being centered and unshakable in who he is. But here's the thing. Arrogance is loud, and it comes from insecurity. It's when a man tries too hard to impress, belittles others to elevate himself, or constantly brags about what he has. Women can see through that. It might grab their attention for a moment, but it doesn't hold it. What holds their attention is the man who can walk into a room and make everyone feel seen, not just himself. A confident man uplifts others. He makes others feel comfortable because he isn't in competition. He doesn't need to put anyone down to shine. That's the difference. Confidence is about self-assurance and humility coexisting. It's about knowing your value and respecting the value of others. And women go crazy for that kind of energy because it feels safe, it feels inspiring, and it feels real. Think about how rare true confidence is today. Most people are chasing likes, followers, or praise to feel validated. But when a man detaches from that and finds his confidence within, he stands out. A woman feels that grounded energy and immediately knows this is someone who leads, not someone who needs. So if you're a man watching this, ask yourself, do I move with confidence or do I seek attention to feel confident? The former will attract the right kind of woman. The latter will only bring short-term admiration. True confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about being authentic, consistent, and emotionally grounded. When a man lives like that, he doesn't just attract women, he attracts the kind of woman who sees him, respects him, and wants to grow with him. That's what makes women go crazy. Not for who he pretends to be, but for the quiet strength of who he truly is. He shows respect even when it's not deserved. There's something incredibly powerful about a man who chooses respect, not because someone earned it, but because it reflects his own values. Respect, in its purest form, isn't just about what others do. It's about who you are. And when a man consistently shows respect to a woman, even during moments of tension, misunderstanding, or emotional distance, he stands out in a world where ego and pride often take the front seat. Women notice when a man doesn't resort to shouting, name-calling, or passive-aggressive behavior, even when he's frustrated. Instead, he pauses, listens, and responds with grace. This kind of self-control is not weakness, it's maturity. And it sends a message loud and clear. I value you, even when we disagree. I choose to honor you, not because you're perfect, but because I'm grounded in who I am. When a man respects a woman's boundaries, her opinions, her goals, and even her silence, she feels seen, she feels safe, she feels emotionally secure. And emotional security is one of the most attractive, magnetic forces you can offer. It's what builds trust, opens the door to vulnerability, and deepens connection. Respect isn't about grand gestures, it's in the little things. Not interrupting her when she speaks, not dismissing her ideas as irrational, not trying to fix her feelings when all she really needs is someone to sit with her in the discomfort. A respectful man asks questions instead of making assumptions. He gives space without abandoning. He honors her individuality without trying to control or manipulate. And here's the real kicker. Women go crazy for this kind of man because he's rare. He's not ruled by his temper. He doesn't dominate a conversation just to prove his intelligence. He doesn't insult others to gain power. He holds himself to a standard that demands emotional intelligence and consistency. Even in moments of disagreement, this man remains rooted. He knows that the way he speaks to a woman, especially when emotions are high, will echo in her heart long after the argument ends. And when she remembers how he handled conflict with calmness, respect, and care, she won't forget it. That becomes the glue that binds hearts. Why does this kind of respect make women go crazy? Because it speaks to something deeper than attraction. It speaks to safety, honor, and integrity. A woman who feels respected becomes more open, more trusting, more radiant. She feels like she can be her full self without fear of judgment. So if you want to truly capture a woman's heart, not just impress her but connect with her, start with respect. Let it be your default setting. Let it show in your words, your tone, your actions, because a man who leads with respect becomes unforgettable. And in a world full of noise, he becomes the calm she's been craving. Consistency that builds emotional security. Consistency is not just about calling her every night or texting her good morning every day. It's about being a man who shows up in the same way he promised on day one and every day after that. Women go crazy in the best possible way when a man's words match his actions, not just once, but over time. In a world full of broken promises, ghosting, and half-hearted effort, consistency becomes an anchor, a safe harbor in the emotional storm. Imagine being the kind of man who doesn't just charm her in the beginning, but continues to invest, communicate, and connect. That consistency communicates one powerful message: I am here. I'm not going anywhere. And that builds emotional security, one of the most essential things women crave in a relationship. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about predictability in character. Can she rely on your presence, your energy, your effort? Can she feel that even when life gets chaotic, you remain grounded, respectful, and engaged? Women notice these subtle things. When a man is consistent, he becomes a source of peace, not confusion. He becomes a place where she can relax and exhale, knowing she's emotionally safe. Inconsistent men confuse women. They create emotional turbulence. One day he's attentive, and the next he's cold. One day he makes her feel like a queen, and the next she's questioning her worth. That roller coaster is exhausting, and eventually she'll walk away. But a man who shows up every day with intentional effort, that's rare and powerful. Let me give you an example. A man who says, I'll call you tonight, and then does. A man who says, I'm committed to us, and proves it by resolving conflict, not running from it. A man who, even after the honeymoon phase fades, still plans dates, still listens, still makes her feel valued. That man leaves an imprint on her heart. Not because of big, flashy gestures, but because of steady, reliable love. Consistency also reflects emotional maturity. It shows that you're not operating based on moods or convenience, but based on principle and commitment. That you're not just there when it feels good, but also when it's uncomfortable. That's what separates a boy from a man. Here's the truth. When a man is consistent, he builds trust. When he builds trust, he earns respect. And when he earns respect, he creates a space where love can thrive, not just survive. So if you want to truly make a woman feel something deep, if you want to capture her heart in a way that keeps her coming back, it's not about being overly dramatic or trying to impress her every day. It's about being consistent, consistently kind, consistently honest, consistently present. That's what makes a woman go crazy in love, not because she's confused, but because she feels safe, chosen, and cherished. A man who listens without trying to fix everything. In a world where everyone is quick to offer advice, solutions, and opinions, a man who simply listens, truly listens, without interrupting, without judging, and without jumping in to fix everything, becomes a rare and incredibly attractive presence. You see, women are deeply emotional beings. They process the world through layers of intuition, feeling, and unspoken connection. When a woman opens up and shares her thoughts or her struggles, she's not always looking for a solution. Most of the time, she's craving connection. She's searching for a space where she can simply be heard. When a man has the emotional maturity and strength to sit still, maintain eye contact, and hold space without getting uncomfortable or dismissive, that creates a powerful bond. It's in that moment she feels safe. It's in that moment she feels respected. It's in that moment she realizes this man values me beyond just fixing my problems. Too often, men are raised to believe that their worth is tied to how useful or logical they can be. So, when a woman expresses a problem, a man might jump into solution mode, trying to offer a fix, thinking that's what she wants. But this reaction, while well-intentioned, can feel invalidating. It can feel like he's brushing past her emotions just to get to the end result. But when a man can resist the urge to fix and instead say, "Tell me more," or "I hear you," or even just sit in silence and offer presence, that is emotional mastery. That is what earns her trust. Because in that moment, he's not trying to prove anything. He's not trying to dominate the conversation or control the outcome. He's just showing up with open ears and an open heart. And here's the secret most people miss. When a woman feels deeply heard, she naturally becomes more open, more relaxed, and more emotionally available. She starts to feel safe, cherished, and connected. And that's when she begins to truly fall in love. So men, if you want to leave a lasting impact, don't underestimate the power of being present. Don't downplay the strength it takes to simply listen without reacting. Your silence can be louder than words when it communicates, "I'm here with you." This isn't about passivity. It's about confidence. It's about knowing that your presence alone is enough, that you don't need to fix everything to be valued. You just need to be fully there. Because the truth is, women go crazy over a man who listens, not to reply, but to understand. That's the kind of man who doesn't just enter her life, but stays in her heart, protecting her peace, not stirring her storm. One of the most underrated things a man can do that truly drives a woman wild in the best way is this. He protects her peace. He becomes the calm in her chaos. He doesn't fuel her stress, he dissolves it. He doesn't amplify her worries, he soothes them. This isn't just about being a nice guy. It's about showing emotional intelligence, respect, and a sense of emotional safety that few men ever offer. Let's face it, life is heavy. Women often carry invisible weights on their shoulders. From career pressures and societal expectations to family dynamics and internal battles, a woman's mind rarely rests. So when a man steps into her world and doesn't bring more noise, but instead brings peace, he becomes magnetic, powerful, irresistible. Protecting her peace doesn't mean walking on eggshells or avoiding conflict. It means being emotionally mature enough to recognize when she's overwhelmed and choosing not to add to it. It means being mindful of your words, especially during disagreements. It means knowing when to hold space and when to offer perspective. It means listening, really listening, not to reply, but to understand. Here's the truth. A woman can feel when a man is emotionally safe. She senses it in his silence, in his stillness, in his patience. When you don't explode under pressure, when you don't guilt-trip her for having emotions, when you don't try to fix everything but simply be there, you're giving her something priceless, emotional refuge. Let her be messy without judgment. Let her cry without trying to stop her. Let her speak her mind without fearing your wrath. That's what protecting her peace looks like. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, grounded, and present. The world already demands her to be strong all the time. But when she's with you, she wants to feel soft, not guarded. She wants to feel safe in your presence, not like she has to defend her heart. And if you give her that space where she can breathe, where she can laugh freely, where she can rest her soul, she'll never forget it. Here's a golden truth. The man who protects her peace becomes her peace. And when a woman sees you as her safe place in a world full of pressure, she will naturally gravitate toward you, trust you, and adore you on levels you never thought possible. So men, don't underestimate the power of calm, of stability, of being that solid ground she can return to when everything else feels shaky. When you protect her peace, you're not just being a good partner. You're becoming the kind of man every woman silently craves. And when you become that man, you'll realize it's not just about driving her crazy. It's about making her feel seen, heard, and valued in ways no one else ever could. The mirror of resentment, they see themselves in you. One of the most overlooked truths about human behavior is this: people don't always hate you. They hate what you reflect back to them. When you're an empath, your light doesn't just illuminate others, it exposes the shadows they've tried to ignore. Your ability to love purely, listen deeply, and show up authentically acts as a mirror. And not everyone is ready to face what they see staring back. You see, when someone harbors resentment towards you, especially when you've done nothing to deserve it, it's rarely about you at all. It's about them. Your compassion reminds them of the coldness they've accepted in their own hearts. Your strength exposes the weakness they've refused to address. Your emotional depth highlights the shallowness they operate in. It's not that they don't like you, it's that they can't handle what you make them feel about themselves. That's why, as an empath, you may attract people who smile to your face but secretly wish you would dim your shine. Because your light doesn't just comfort, it challenges, it confronts, it shakes up their carefully constructed self-image. And some people would rather destroy the mirror than fix the reflection. What makes this dynamic even more painful is that empaths often take that resentment personally. You start questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Am I too much? Should I tone it down? But let me say this loud and clear. You are not the problem. Their discomfort is not your responsibility to fix. Your job is not to make yourself smaller so others can feel bigger. Your job is to continue being the lighthouse that you are, even if some ships choose to sail away. When you carry light, you automatically cast a shadow on those who are still living in denial. And instead of facing their own pain, they deflect it onto you. This is why it's so important not to internalize their resentment. Don't shrink, don't apologize, and definitely don't stop being who you are. Your existence calls people higher, even when they resist it. Your presence challenges others to deal with their emotional wounds. And yes, while some will thank you for it, others will reject you simply because they're not ready. But that's okay. You're not here to be accepted by everyone. You're here to be authentic. You're here to live out your purpose, to bring light to dark places, and to heal the world one interaction at a time. Remember this: when someone resents your light, it's because they haven't yet found their own. And maybe, just maybe, your glow is the very thing they need to finally start looking inward. You are not alone. You are protected. Empaths often walk through life feeling like they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. With every step, they absorb the pain, the fear, the confusion, and the anger of those around them. They don't just see suffering, they feel it deeply. And that sensitivity can feel like both a gift and a burden. But here's something empaths need to understand and never forget. You are not alone. You are divinely protected. When your heart is pure, your energy sincere, and your intentions grounded in love, you become a vessel of light in a dark world. And light, true light, is never abandoned. The universe, God, source energy, whatever name you give it, it watches over you. It surrounds you. It sends you signs, synchronicities, and shields that most others can't see. Have you ever noticed how certain people leave your life abruptly after trying to deceive you? That's not a coincidence. That's protection. Ever felt something off about someone but couldn't explain why, only to discover later that they didn't have your best interest at heart? That's your spiritual radar, your intuitive defense system in action. As an empath, your soul is tuned to a higher frequency. You are sensitive because your spirit hears what most people ignore. You can feel shifts in energy. You can pick up on lies without hearing a word. That inner knowing, that intuitive edge, it's divine. You were never meant to be hardened. You were meant to be aware. But being protected doesn't mean you won't face trials. In fact, empaths often go through some of the most painful spiritual awakenings. Why? Because through those challenges, you learn discernment. You learn to stop giving your sacred energy to those who only want to drain it. You learn to stand in your light with courage, not as a victim, but as a warrior of compassion. You must realize that not everyone is Mia, meant to walk with you. Some people were sent only to test your boundaries, not to share your blessings. And when they walk away, don't mourn them. Celebrate the clearing. Every person who exits your life makes room for someone who honors your energy. Your empathy is not weakness, it's your divine compass. And while it can make life feel overwhelming, it's also what allows you to bring healing, clarity, and hope to others. That's why you're protected, because the world needs your light. but it also needs you to protect it. So walk boldly in your purpose. Know that unseen forces are guiding your path, clearing obstacles and exposing false energies. You don't have to fight every battle alone. Just keep your heart pure, your energy clean, and your spirit aligned. And trust this, you are covered, chosen, and never alone. You've walked with me through this journey, through pain, through power, through purpose. And now, as we reach the end of this message, I want you to sit with one truth. You were never meant to dim your light to comfort those who are afraid of their own darkness. If you are an empath, a light bearer, a soul that feels deeply, know that your sensitivity is not your weakness. It's your greatest strength. You have the rare gift of seeing beyond the surface, of understanding without words, of loving without conditions. But that gift, as powerful as it is, can sometimes attract people who resent it. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your light exposes what they're still hiding from. And yet, no matter how often you're misunderstood, underestimated, or mistreated, you rise. You continue to show up in a world that doesn't always know what to do with someone like you. And that, my friend, is courage. That is grace. That is strength beyond measure. Never again let anyone convince you that you are too much. You are exactly enough. Your emotions, your intuition, your passion, they are your superpowers. The world has taught many to suppress what they feel, but you were born to feel, to connect, to transform. That is why they can't forget you. That is why your presence lingers long after you're gone, because you leave an imprint not on the mind, but on the soul. Yes, you will outgrow people. Yes, some will walk away. Yes, others will try to tear you down simply because they can't stand the way you shine without trying. But let them go. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Your mission isn't to convince anyone to love you. Your mission is to become so fully aligned with your truth that anything not meant for you naturally falls away. This is your reminder. You don't need to be louder, just clearer. You don't need to force your light, just allow it to shine. Because when you stand in your truth, without apology, you attract those who see you, feel you, and honor you at your frequency. The world needs you, exactly as you are. No more shrinking, no more pleasing, no more editing yourself to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. Walk boldly, speak truthfully, feel deeply, love relentlessly, and most of all, keep your light on, even when it blinds others, especially when it does. If they resent your light, hand them sunglasses, but never dim your shine. You are not too sensitive. You are precisely what this hardened world needs. Shine so brightly that those who fear the light either rise with you or fade into the shadows. Your light is not up for debate. It's your birthright. Own it.